This video is only part of an unpaid, unbiased, in-depth review from an average rider's perspective, so check out the rest in the link below at thegoodride.com. If you want real advice, fill out the Me Harmony profile in the link below so I can help you properly. And if this video helps, please consider donating or buying through our links. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the wide world of snowboard gear polyamory, and this is the Union Atlas Pro. I'm James Beastie at The Good Ride as usual. And for 2023, we have a bevy of Atlas. We have the Atlas FC on the outside, the regular Atlas, just a little bit stiffer high back than last year's Atlas, and the Atlas Pro, a whole new kind of Atlas. And I use this with a wide variety of boards and boots, but primarily my Burton Kendos, but I also got some time on the Nidecker Rift APX boot, a boot I really liked, the Ride Triad, and the 32 TM3 XD. I did some interesting comparisons to really see how the Atlas Pro matches up to the Atlas. So I mounted the new Atlas on one foot and the Atlas Pro on another foot, then switched it so I could get a really good feel of how the two compare. I also compared the Atlas Pro to the Atlas FC in same day comparisons, but the Atlas FC is so different than the Atlas and the Atlas Pro that I didn't put one FC on one foot and an Atlas Pro on the other. It's just in a different world. And to give you a short summary, it's that last stop before going full on carbon. It has better high back rotation than the Atlas FC, and it does everything that the regular Atlas does, adjustability wise, ride wise, everything wise, except for it's a little less damp to get that little extra bit of response. So I think if you like the Atlas and you wanted something just a little stiffer, you'll probably be happier with the Pro than the FC, unless you want to go full on, raging, unapologetically stiff with the FC. But I would say this year, both bindings are a step up over the Falcors in terms of response, but the Falcors are still a great binding. They're just a little more freestyle, mountain freestyle focused, and these are a little more free ride, all mountain focused. Now let's talk weight. They're the same weight, 2.2 pounds, as the regular old Atlas. There's no difference that I could see. When I put them on the scale, hey, my scale's not perfect. There might be maybe an ounce or two difference, but it didn't seem like that to me. They both weighed in at 2.2 pounds. The Atlas FC weighs in at 2 pounds. If you want really light, you want to go Falcor, that's 1.8 pounds. And that's really the only comparable binding to these in the freestyle group. And overall, that's a pretty normal weight, 2.2 pounds, maybe a touch on the heavy side compared to a lot of 1.8 and 2 pound bindings, but still very doable. Now, when it comes to the Highback Flex, you have a decent twist and a little give, and it's just the same as the new Atlas, same twist, same give. I can't feel any discernible difference, and I think it's basically the same high back. I personally liked the older high back on the Atlas and would have liked to have seen that softer flex on the Atlas, especially now that they have the Atlas Pro. I wish they didn't share high back flexes, because this high back flex is so, I can't do anything with the FC. So why not make the Atlas different than the Atlas Pro, and then all three would have a different high back flex. I think that would be better. Now, when it comes to flex underfoot and butterability, all of these bindings have that same bottom rubber that dampens things up. The one thing though is the top is different of the base plate. So all of them have that same feel underfoot for the most part. The one difference is the bottom of the Atlas Pro and the Atlas FC are stiffer, so they don't quite feel as mellow and as buttery underfoot, but you still have a stiff ride. So the ride underfoot is stiffer and damper, but it still doesn't feel dead, and I really like that. So If you do decide to pair these up with, let's say, an aggressive mountain freestyle board, or you just have a mountain freestyle board and you like a really responsive binding with it, it will still twist a little bit and flex tip to tail a little bit better than most bindings with a full-size disc will, and I like that. But if you want much more flex underfoot, you probably want to think Falcor. You'll sacrifice a little response and uneven terrain and at higher speed, but you'll get a better flex underfoot. And speaking of response, I did notice a little difference response-wise with the Atlas Pro versus the regular Atlas. Was it enough for me to want the Atlas Pro? No, because these softer materials throughout the binding made it a little more forgiving, a little more damp. But if you want a little more response and you don't want to sacrifice all the dampness of the Atlas like you would with the FC, you could go Pro. So when it comes to shock absorption and dampness, you have a good bit of rubber on the back here. You have rubber throughout the bottom, just like you do with the Atlas. The one difference is this is more plastic and EVA foam. It's very dense, but this is carbon and EVA foam, and you really feel the difference. It really changes the ride. It makes it less damp than the Atlas. And for me, this response in the Pro isn't worth it to switch base plates. With the Atlas FC, that's the same kind of plate, but then you have even more stiff, less damp, but more responsive construction in the FC that makes it even less damp and less forgiving in uneven terrain. So the old Atlas, that's my all-day ride. The Atlas FC is good conditions only for me. And the Atlas Pro is somewhere in between. I think it's closer to the Atlas, but I didn't feel like I wanted to sacrifice the dampness that I got with the Atlas to get that little bit of extra response you get with the Pro or the FC. Now, when it comes to actual shock absorption, I was a little bummed with all the Atlas because I'd love to see some kind of EVA foam, some kind of softer rubber that would help with shock absorption, because if you land flat with these, and let's face it, we all do, it's not about our pride here, these do not absorb shock like the Force do. Those are better for that. And all the freestyle bindings like the Falcor and Strata do a little better than the Atlas Pro and especially the Atlas FC. But the Atlas are the bindings I want when I'm trying to set a line in uneven snow and hold that edge throughout a turn. These are the best. These are pretty close, and these can feel a little more bucky and a little less damp in terms of holding a line. Now, in terms of support, you have a slightly different ankle strap than the regular Atlas. And I gotta say, when you try them, you don't really feel that much of a difference, but I do like the look, and I like this feel of the Atlas Pro ankle strap just a touch better. I wish I could take these and put them on the regular Atlas. The toe strap, I love this lighter weight, minimalist toe strap, toolless, and it fits great over the toe. This one is excellent too on the regular Atlas, but I like this one a little better. It's a little more sleek. It fits over your boot just a touch better. And it's almost the same as the Pro, except for the Pro is full on just screwless. I guess they're both toolless, but this is even screwless. I'm sure there's a joke somewhere there. But overall, with all these Atlas, I love the way the ankle strap supports. It gives you a little bit of freedom of movement while still giving you support in uneven terrain. And I love how they've evolved the ankle strap over the years. They're really doing good things with it now. The ratchets are super smooth and super reliable if I can sight them up. And they just last forever. I haven't broken a ratchet just from riding through wear and tear. I've never done that, only through dumbass negligence. So when it comes to adjustability, this is one of the best in the business. I do like that you still can rotate the high back with the Pro versus the regular, where you can't with the FC. The rest of this binding is just the best in the business because you have an adjustable heel loop and an adjustable gas pedal / toe ramp. So you can slide this in or out according to your boot size, and the heel in or out according to your boot size. That means you can get your boot centered in the binding and therefore centered on the board. And you don't have to turn the discs this way to slide it tip to tail. It would be a rare situation where you would have to do that. And then you can turn these beautiful discs tip to tail and slide. And let me pull out these camber discs to show you what we got here. You have a lot of slide room. Now you only have one hole here for Burton channel compatibility, but with the heel loop and gas pedal adjustability, you're gonna be able to center your boot in the binding and therefore center it on an EST board as well. So adjustability is the best in the business. Now with the camber disc, you also have a shit ton of slide room. Here's the older disc before they changed that out. And if you compare them, and this is hard to do, but if you compare them this way, if you overlap it, this has more slide capability. The only time I find that this has more adjustability is when I set it up mini disc, and then sometimes I can get a stance width that I couldn't with this camber disc here, instead of putting these types of screws, washers in here. But overall, it's almost as good as the infinite adjustability of Burton's channel system, and I love that. So overall, I like the Atlas Pro. I don't like it as much as the Atlas, but I think it's a nice compromise if you want a little more response than the regular Atlas, and you don't want to sacrifice as much dampness as you would with the FC. You could go Atlas Pro and have a nice in between and still have all that adjustability.